Shalom, shalom. Following Yeshua. Second video for the day. Welcome again to Rock. You've heard the term before. Seek his face. Oh, and yes, the chainsaw sharpener is off for this video. Are you seeking his face? You've heard that term before. Seek his face. Seek his face. And usually we're talking about, yeah. Here's a question I have for you sisters. Especially for those of you that are, although I don't like using the term, I'm going to use it. Courting, talking, engaging in conversation with a man with the end goal being to enter into his house as a wife. Are you seeking his face? That's an interesting thought, isn't it? Are you seeking the face? Are you seeking the ideas and the information of the man whose home you want to enter? Or are you kind of taking a haphazard approach to it where, kinda, but not really? Or even a greater mistake, are you seeking the face of people that aren't him? In today's society, with the invention of the internet and stuff like that, it's easy to go out there and scour the internet and try to get advice from these so-called dating coaches or information or relationship experts or stuff like that, whatever the hell that means. But I say this, unless the person you are talking to wants you to do that, you're actually doing yourself a disservice by doing that. You should be seeking the face of the man whose house you're entering. You should be seeking his information as if his information is life, because he is the savior of the body. And you're saying you want to join his body. So if you want to join his body, wouldn't you want to know the information of his body? Wouldn't you seek his information as if you were seeking life itself? I know people are going to say, no. That's fine. Then this video is not for you. This channel may not be for you, and that's all good. You can wait for the videos that I do when it comes to preparedness and home study. You can wait for those. But for this one, this is because I get this question a lot. And this society has given women the impression that if you seek your husband's face, that you're thirsty, you're desperate, you're yada yada, all those again terms that have been put out there as if they're bad. I'm desperate for y'all. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty for him. I'm thirsty for the living water. I'm thirsty for it. I have no problem saying I'm thirsty or desperate. But you women have been convinced because, see, they've lowered the value of the man to where if somebody dares say that to you, you look at it and say, well, I'm not. The same way we were talking about controlling in the last video. And if you haven't seen that video, I suggest you watch it and read the comments. There's a lot of excellent comments from the brothers in the comment section. Just read what they're saying, how it lines up with the word. But too many of you sisters are really, you're trying to get into a man's house, but you're seeking the advice from everybody else. Shouldn't you be seeking his face? That man's face? I'm not saying don't seek Yah. You obviously are praying and seeking Yah's face, but shouldn't you be seeking your prospective husband's face far more than you are the face of any other person? Not your mama, not your cousins, not your uncles, not even your father's face. You want to seek his face, the man whose house you're going to be entering and living with. And because, see, once you are a married woman, there are a lot of other commandments that open up to you. Read the Apocrypha. Read Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 25 and 26. Read Ephesians 5. Read Numbers, chapter 30. Read 1 Peter 3. You can read Titus 2. There's a lot that opens up to you now once you take on the aspect of, I'm going to be a wife. And too many think that I'm going to come into his house and then work on being a wife. But these are the same people that go to college. What does college do? College prepares you for the profession that you are seeking. So if you want to be a doctor, you go to college to learn the information so that you could be a doctor. If you want to be a teacher or a nurse or whatever it may be. Same thing even in sports. When you play high school basketball, now back when I played, they didn't have AAU. But you played high school basketball, that prepared you for college. College prepared you if you were, go to NBA or overseas, it prepared you for that. But when it comes to marriage, women just think, well, I'm just going to show up to the court. I'm going to show up on the court with my basketball jersey on and know the game. But if you don't study the rules of basketball, you're gonna grab the basketball and run down the court, and the official's going to call traveling. You're going to be like, well, how is it traveling? And everyone's going to look at you like, you don't know the rules of the game before you started playing it? That's the same thing when it comes to marriage. What makes you think you're just going to walk into the marriage and just get it? Or I'm going to learn how to play basketball from a European perspective. And in Europe, in European basketball, there are certain rules that aren't over here in the NBA. So if you want to play in the NBA, why are you learning European rules? Same way, if you're trying to join this man's house, if you're trying to join John's house, why are you learning what Pete says? Why are you learning how Pete runs his house? You should be learning how John runs his house. You should be seeking John's face. Because John may have rules that Pete doesn't have. The same way, European basketball has rules or doesn't have rules that the NBA does or doesn't have. Because I think that this mindset of every man's going to have the same household in the faith is bullshit. And we've been taught this by religion, that if you don't have the same type of house and it doesn't run the same type of way as your leader, then your house is destructive. You can go by. Then your house is, or it's out of order. No, your house may be different than how I run my house. In fact, it likely is going to be different. There are going to be similarities, and that's the law. But the rest of that, hey, if you decide that you want to eat beans and rice for a week, or if I want to eat beans and rice for a week, because I decide to eat beans and rice for a week does not mean that everybody who listens to my channel has to eat beans and rice for a week. In fact, it doesn't mean that, not even close at all. It means that in my house, the rules that I've established are for my house. But see, if you are going to a man's house and you don't know his rules and you don't know what he wants, you don't know what he requires from his wife or wives, then you're coming in there just saying, well, I don't know. But you have the opportunity to know. You have the opportunity to ask him questions. You have the opportunity to seek his face, to get the information directly from him. But you're getting it from everybody else. You want to know what everybody else has to say about it. You want to know what this person over there has to say and that person over there has to say, but you ain't joining their house. You want to know what sister so-and-so has to say about it, but you're not joining her house. You're joining this man's house. And you need to take that with the utmost seriousness, with the utmost sanctity. Because when you go into that, there are laws that now apply to you biblically. There is something that's required of you that's not required. Now you are stepping into the arena of being a virtuous, or what the scriptures calls a capable wife. That whole virtuous woman shit is not what it's supposed to be. The King James Version says, who can find a virtuous woman? But if you look at almost every other version that brings it back to the original Hebraic understanding, it is who can find a capable wife. So there is no such thing as a virtuous woman who's single. It was supposed to be who can find a capable wife, not a virtuous woman. Proverbs 31. I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. You're a capable wife, but you're single? I digress. But you want to know what it is in his home for you to be a capable wife. You want to know what it's. You want to read more about virtue? Read Sirach chapter 26, verses 1 through 3. And you will see what it's saying and pertaining to the wife and her husband. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, it's in the Apocrypha. It was taken out for a reason. You want to understand the man's home whom you are entering. That is so fundamental. You should be taking the time when you are talking. If you are saying, this is the man's house I want to enter, and y'all know you're moving that way, you need to be seeking his face far more than you seek any other person's face but Yah's. You need to be seeking his face more than you seek your work, your friends, your family, more than anybody on the internet, more than mine, more than your pastors or your elders or your leaders or your teachers. You need to be seeking that man's face whose house you're entering. Because too many of you sisters are seeking faces that had nothing to do with your husband. And then you want to come into the marriage with all these different ideas. You should be coming into the marriage ready to rock out your position, ready to rock out what he has for you. Not coming in and now you're like, okay, well, I'm still trying to get myself ready. When it's game time, when it's time for you to be on the court, that's not the time for you to be taking off your warm-ups. That's not the time for you to be stretching. Coach is like, all right, time to get in the game. Coach, I'm still getting myself. No, you're going to get passed on by. But so many people have that approach. So many men have that approach with Yah. When Yah comes and knocks at the door, when he comes and knocks on your door, if you don't answer, he leaves. Look at the parables. When the bridegroom came, there were 5 wise and 5 foolish. When the bridegroom came, that's your moment. There's your moment. You're either ready for it or you're not ready for it. That's not the time to start getting ready for it. That's not the time to start finding your oil. It's not the time to start finding your submission, finding your obedience. You should be doing that from the get-go. And that's one of the important things why it was important in our time that women came from their father's house, because they came out ready. They came out understanding what obedience was, what submission is, yada, yada, yada. And that's what we're trying to build right now. That's what as first generation of patriarchs are doing. We are raising our daughters to come from our house. So we are literally the ones who are setting the foundation and the groundwork, so that when our daughters leave our houses, they are already understanding what obedience and submission is. But for majority of women today, 80% of women of color, 80% of children are born outside of wedlock. So they don't even get to know their father. They don't have a reverence of their father. So they're not coming out of their father's house. They're likely coming out of their mother's house, in which over 90% of the children of color that are born outside of wedlock are given to the mother. So they're not coming out of their father's house, understanding what obedience is. They're watching their mama. My mama didn't obey her husband. My mama didn't obey her father. That's why she's single. That's why I was born outside of wedlock. They don't have that understanding. They've seen divorce. They've seen destruction of the family. They witnessed it. So what's happening right now is we are the ones that are having children, raising them up so that our daughters understand what a wife is. Our sons understand what a husband is. So a lot of the sisters that are coming into and looking for marriage now are women that have not come from their father's house. They're not coming from their father's house to their husband's house. They spent time by themselves. They've gone off to school. They've done this. They've done that. They've had a lot of independent time. That's why I'm saying you sisters need to seek your husband's face now. Since there isn't a father there, since he's not raising you, since he's not taking care of you, since he's not teaching you or training you, your husband is the one that's going to do it. Which means you should be getting yourself ready for him. You should be getting yourself, you should have the oil in your lamp before the bridegroom comes. So that when the bridegroom comes, you are ready to go into the wedding chamber. You are ready to go into the wedding. You are ready to say, I'm ready for him to be here. I have taken on his information. I have already started to take on his heart, his mind, his will, and his emotions. And this, I'm talking about if you've already gotten to the point where you are. That's why I said I had the live stream. Are you talking with the intent to date, or are you talking with the intent of marriage? If you're talking with the intent of marriage, you'll cut past all the bullshit. If you're talking with the intent to date, this is not a conversation for you. This is not a conversation for you. I don't believe in dating. I don't believe in boyfriends and girlfriends either. But we are jacking things up and messing things up because we see things based off of our feelings. We see things based off of, well, when I came here to Homestead, I didn't start studying solar or studying how to build my home when I got here. I started studying that way before I got here. Once I knew this is the land, I started studying what I had here. Once I knew I wanted to move to the Ozarks, I started studying what the Ozarks had. So if you know that that's the man that or you're betrothed to him, or you already know that's where I want to be, why are you waiting? Why are you waiting to get yourself ready for his house? Why not get yourself ready for his house right now? So the transition is smooth. All you have to do, hey, I'm just waiting to relocate this to that, this, that, and the other. That's what the betrothal period was about. The betrothal period was about the man and the woman finishing any business that kept them apart. So if he was over here and she was over here, and he had to finish this sale and she had to finish this, that, and the other, what she was doing, that's what the betrothal period was for. It wasn't a predetermined time so that we could just figure out, do we want to get married? It was a time in which you closed out, because biblically, if you're betrothed, you are married. You just haven't consummated yet. That's why the Bible says you can still commit adultery to a woman. A woman who is betrothed can still commit adultery because she's married. But there was a time for her and him to finish their prospective duties outside so that they can come together. That means you should probably know that man's house. You should probably have an understanding of how he runs his things. You should probably know where he's taking his family and start aligning yourself with that now. Not aligning yourself with that when you get there. Aligning yourself with that now. So if you know, hey, he's doing this, this, and this, it may not be a smart idea for you to go and spend money and go do this, this, and this. It may be a smart idea for you to say, if I want to join his house, maybe I should start asking him what I should do with it. Maybe I should start asking him what I should do with the resources. Maybe I should start asking him what he wants with this, that, and the other. That's what you should start doing. So I hope that this answers that question. I hope. I'm trying to catch up with all these emails. I apologize. It takes some time to get to them, but I hope that these are helping somebody. I know they're helping people, but I hope that those that are asking the questions is helping, because y'all truly want to know. I got more videos coming out, probably not today, but I just hope that this is a blessing to you. Seek his, being your husband's, or soon-to-be husband's, face, not the world's. Bless y'all.